I am Alexandra Sternlicht, and I am the Forbes 30 Under 30 reporter. And I'm so excited to be joined here today by these really powerful and powerfully female co-founders and CMOs who, through their companies, Sakara Life, Everly Health, and FabFitFun, are changing health and wellness outcomes for millions of customers. So let's chat. I want to start off with Whitney. I recently wrote about how Sakara Life is making $150 million a year selling plant-based meals and goodies to a mostly female customer base. Tell me about how you've managed to carve out this really big niche in the $11 billion fresh meal industry.
Yeah, well, hi, Alex. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
And yeah, I think that, really it's about creating a product that resonates with people. When we started Sakara, we didn't start out to be a big business like we are today. We really just started out looking for a solution to our own needs. I was battling with skin conditions. My co-founder, Danielle, was a chronic yo-yo dieter, jumping from diet to diet, looking everywhere for the solution. And when we couldn't find it, we decided to go back to our roots of how we were raised in Sedona, Arizona, plus what Danielle was doing. She was going to school to study medicine and became a nutritionist, and decided to take our health back into our own hands, that food and nature is powerful. And when given the right tools, the body can do amazing things. And so, we came together and figured out this solution using the power of plants and nature to heal our own bodies. And once we experienced that incredible transformation, it put us on a mission to help as many people as possible feel and discover that same transformation for themselves. And so, we really just started out one by one. We started out cooking in our own kitchens, delivering for friends, for family. And one by one, those people told another person. We didn't have a marketing budget. It was just word of mouth. And it really started to grow. And I think when you create a product that impacts people on such a deep level, they want to talk about it. They want to tell their friends about it. And they also want to come back and do it again. And so I think it really is creating that product market fit that has allowed us to grow to the size that we're at, creating a product and sticking true to who we are, our values, and being in service to our clients every single day.
I know community is something that, as you mentioned, has been giant for Sakara Life. It's also been really important for FabFitFun. You guys have over 1 million people who like you on Facebook. That's pretty insane. Talk about how community has really enabled you to build a great health and wellness brand.
Oh, for sure. And hi, everybody. So happy to be here on this panel of talented women. So I will say, at FabFitFun, our community is really everything. I often joke that, they're kind of our fourth co-founder because they have such a huge impact, on the way that we think about our business and our brand. And, we built a members only community forum where we can get feedback in real time. And trust me, we get all of the feedback, the trends and brands that they want to try, what they're loving about FabFitFun, and honestly, what they don't like as well, but we use all of that feedback, good and bad, to make the membership, better and better. And, when they asked us for a fully customizable box, it was our mission to do it as quickly as possible. And, we're constantly crowdsourcing colors and patterns and idea from our community, but it's more than just feedback. It really is a relationship. And what's cool is that, especially in COVID, when we've all been more separated than ever, it's just a way to build real friendships. And it gets harder to make friends as we get older. We're not sort of forced into the social confines of school that we did when we were growing up. And, I've seen members really make some amazing connections, supporting each other through illnesses, breakups, financial hard times, visiting each other when seeing people was a thing. I mean, I feel like I get 1 million plus friends in our community. And I am in there all the time. Members can tag me directly. They ask questions, they want to know about what's on the horizon. And it's really just an amazing, supportive group of smart, fun women that help guide our business.
Yeah, and I think for Everly, work from home and living from home and life from home and being able to manage your health from home is obviously the foundation of your company. Tell me a little bit about how COVID has impacted your business and a little bit more about what exactly you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice to see everyone. I am the non-founder on the panel, but always love to be surrounded by folks who are truly entrepreneurial. It is amazing to watch. Our founder, Julia, started the company for a lot of the same reasons you did, Whitney, personal experience. And we've been doing, under the Everly Well brand, at-home lab testing for 6 years. And we offer more than 35 tests that really truly enable you to take control of your health, understand what's going on in your body today, manage that data, and hopefully drive to better health outcomes. And so what COVID did for us, interestingly enough, it wasn't so much that it impacted our business, but what it did is it impacted people's behaviors and willingness to do some things from home that maybe they weren't quite ready to do. I think about it a little bit like the first time I took an Uber, I was like, I don't know if I want to get in some stranger's car, and now I kind of wouldn't go back. We're seeing a really similar thing where folks couldn't go into the doctor. Like their only option was to explore these alternatives. And once they did it once and they realized it was affordable, it was easy, they were in absolute control of the experience. We've heard time and time again now how people are just not interested in going back to the old way. And so I think COVID, it got people talking about lab testing in a way that they never did. It got people to understand the importance of lab testing in your overall health and sort of a bit of a recognition of how broken the system is and how there truly can and should be a better way. Since then, we've actually acquired a couple companies and formed Everly Health, which is a both consumer sided ecosystem, but we also have an enterprise business, and we also have our own labs as well as partner labs. And we're able to basically create a full virtual care model to support people in multiple kind of forms of healthcare. And we'll probably support about 20 million people this year through our system by the end of it, and hopefully continue to do more and more down the road, which is exciting.
And I had a question. So I'm familiar with you guys and what you do, but I don't know about all of the different labs that you have available. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. So we offer 35, today we offer 35 different tests. We offer anything from, call it general wellness tests, where you might want to understand your cholesterol, your lipids, your hormones. So we often offer tests for women's hormones, fertility, ovarian reserve. We offer tests to understand food sensitivity as well as indoor-outdoor allergies. One of our really sort of valuable suite of tests we offer is our STI testing. So we have a suite of more than 8 tests that you can order in the privacy of your home, truly affordable, and manage your sexual health as well. And we're constantly adding new tests into the ecosystem. We obviously offer a COVID PCR test, and we've also partnered with vendors throughout COVID to offer rapid testing as well.
That's amazing. And I think something especially about your brands, Whitney and Jenifer, is that you're ensuring these health outcomes without really a doctor or specialist overseeing the care. Like I know in our conversations, Whitney, you're kind of like, this is sort of like it's somewhere between a nutritionist and a personal chef. And obviously that's the case for Everly. How do you guys ensure outcomes and form these really big companies and loyal communities without that like personalized doctor advised care?
Well, I think for me, companies like Everly actually help support what we do at Sakara. So at Sakara, we're offering you different types of nutrition programs and products that get to the root cause of many different, types of chronic conditions or just not feeling great in your body. And we come at it from the nutritional angle. I think for a lot of people, it's difficult to stick to something unless you're seeing specific results. So if they can go and get their blood tested, at home even, and see how those numbers are changing over time after using Sakara in their life, then that's really motivating. And it helps really put them in the driver's seat of their own health and their own well-being. That said, we work with a lot of doctors and medical practitioners all across the country. Love practices like Parsley Health, who are functional medicine based, and they recommend a lot of their patients our direction as well. So, I don't think that it's about taking medical practitioners out of the picture. I think it's about giving people more options, more tools in their toolkit for wellness, and information to more data that can help them make decisions for themselves.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, one of the interesting things about what Everlywell does is while you can purchase a test on your own, we actually have physicians involved in two parts of the equation. So when you go online to register a test, we actually are creating a lab requisition like you would with a doctor, where we're ensuring that it is the right test for you based on an intake form. We also have physicians review the results before they are released to you through our digital platform. So there are some really valuable checks along the way. And for example, with our STI suite of tests, if, for example, you have a positive test and it is something that can be treated with antibiotics, we will actually do an alert call. And for the cost included in the test, we will prescribe you antibiotics, and you can get those right there on the phone and sort of be on your way. So there is a lot of areas where, particularly with our acquisition of PWN Health in March, where we've been able to weave together really helpful telehealth components into the ecosystem. But I will totally agree with Whitney. I think one of the misconceptions is that it's either or. You're either, direct to consumer, or you're with your PCP. And I don't think that's the way we should think about healthcare. We need to get to a point where we start with the person, we start what they need, and we let them drive the course that they want to go. More than probably 60 to 70% of our customers have insurance. We know they're engaged with PCPs. We know we know they show our results to their doctor. So I don't think people want this sort of version where I'm either kind of on one end of the equation or the other. They want a system that's inclusive and enables them to be in the driver's seat, but also tap into so many great resources that are available for them today that never were before. And COVID has accelerated a lot of that, particularly with telehealth, because it's going to, enable a lot more diagnostic support that wasn't there in the past as well.
Yeah, and I think, on the topic of at-home testing, obviously Elizabeth Holmes she has a shroud over female founders, and especially with her trial being in the news, and female founders, particularly in the health and wellness space, which you all are. How valid or real do you think this shroud is over you?
I mean, I don't think it's impacted our business at all, if I'm honest. I think there is a case of fraud that is quite a bit different than what we do day in and day out. And I can't speak for everyone else, but for our business, it hasn't made an impact.
Yeah, I think being a female founder in general, you have certain challenges. I don't think that her case in particular has had an impact. I haven't seen it with any of my friends who are in the wellness space either, but I think there are certain challenges that just come with being a female founder, especially when it comes to raising capital and that type of thing. And, we are moving the needle when it comes to females starting to get more funding, and we're starting to make some change and make some progress there. And so hopefully, Elizabeth Holmes is just seen as not necessarily a female founder, but as a founder in general who made a big mistake. And there are many male founders and female founders who have done that in the past.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on a little bit of what Whitney said, I think it's probably always harder to be a woman in a male-dominated space with or without Elizabeth Holmes. And I think, luckily there are so many amazing female founders out there. It sort of does us a disservice to put too much focus on one, unfortunate high-profile story. And I guess I'd personally rather stay inspired by, the countless women who are killing it out there, present company included.
Totally. And I think one thing that you touched on, Whitney, is venture capital. You guys are all venture-backed companies. I think Sakara Life, you've raised 20 million. Everly, you've raised 200 million. And FabFitFun, you've raised 80 million. Those are all really significant amounts. I'd love for you to talk about how venture capital has helped you start these health-focused empires and how fundraising has impacted your journey as founders. Katie, I would love for you to kick it off.
Sure. So, post funding, there was definitely changes within FabFitFun, kind of as expected with these things. And we were, happily able to action on, programs and membership features that we had always discussed, but, hadn't been able to execute on previously because we just didn't have the resources. I think the most obvious being around customization. Our membership has changed dramatically over the last 7 years. We started with a group of women who came from the website. We started as a media brand. And in the beginning, they were all pretty similar to me and my demo. And so, it was relatively easy for me to pick 8 products that I liked that were then sent to everyone, and that would land, pretty well. But, once we surpassed 1 million members, it just really means that the membership becomes much more diverse. And, what I can tell you is that a 16-year-old in San Diego, probably doesn't need or want the same products as a 60-year-old in Kansas City. And we have both of those amazing women in our membership. So, much of our, time and effort and money was really invested into creating a, 100% customizable platform that lets us get the absolute right products to the right members. And, what was once a single box or a single version that went out to everyone is now millions of iterations each season. I would say the other sort of big piece was probably the ability to invest in talent. We had been functioning for so long as this sort of scrappy startup where everyone was doing the job of 10 people. And, I'll just speak for myself here, but, I had no experience related to merchandising. I was a writer, my background was in content. And in the beginning, I do think, there's a little bit where we actually benefited from my lack of experience, meaning that, I hadn't done it before. I wasn't limited by the way things were supposed to be done. So there was just like this huge willingness to kind of test and try and innovate and invest in what was working. And, we sort of threw away what didn't. But I will say fast forward, as you're scaling a business, being able to invest in, experienced, smart, talented people who have been doing what they do for a long time is just incredibly beneficial for the company. It is certainly what has been able to push us forward. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without raising that money.
I would agree with you. I mean, everything you just said completely resonates with me as well. And after this call, we are going to have a conversation about how you're doing all of that customization.
Yes.
Because it is such a huge challenge, but it is such a huge unlock to bringing joy to your consumer and increasing retention and just everything. And so being able to do that and getting it right is huge and absolutely takes capital to do that, to be able to tech enable your facilities, use data to feed what goes into each box. I'm right there with you. So from our perspective, we have been very, I'd say, conservative with capital raising. So I think over the years, so much of media has focused on how much a company has raised instead of actually the success of a company. And in order to have that stamp of approval, you had to have raised however much money from XYZ venture capital firm. And for us, it's always been about using venture money in order to improve our customer experience, build the business, and do it in a way where we still get to make the decisions. We are very careful about who we brought into our company as well. We just brought on John Rip-Logal to be the chair of our board. He was the CEO of Seventh Generation and of Burt's Bees, really believes in business with a purpose. And so I think that when it comes to venture money, it can be extremely helpful and push you in the right way and enable your business to bring more joy to your consumer. Or it can put you on a fast track to need to hit certain numbers and exit at a certain valuation and put a lot of pressure on you. So I think, my advice for anybody watching who's thinking about taking on venture capital is don't just get starry-eyed at the dollar amount, but really, do your own due diligence on who the investors are. Do they share your values? Do they share the same vision and where you want your company to go? Because ultimately, it is like a marriage and you're bringing somebody in and they can have a lot of say in the future.
Yeah, I'll add one thing to that. After I say literally 1 million customizations, I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah. Wild.
Wild. I also need to know that. I think just to build on that, one thing that I would also say, so obviously I'm not the founder on the panel, but I have observed the challenges and the highs and the lows of the process. And I think one of the things that, to build on what Whitney said a little bit, is to be really clear on what you want to do with that funding, because also making sure that whoever you're securing that funding from is aligned with that vision is really important. And so for Everly Health, a lot of where we've been focused is how do we take an insight? So you've taken a test, you've gotten your information, and turn that into action. So what is that sort of back half of the experience? How does telehealth fit in? How does better digital experiences? How does more customization on how your results are presented to you? How do you have more partnerships that connect you with the next step? And I think the clarity on that helps inform who you partner with, but also enables you to move quickly once that funding is in place and put it into action to drive your business forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you guys for those answers. I think that'll be really helpful to a lot of the people in the audience who are thinking about raising money or in the process of raising money or already raised money. And now I want to, again, touch on something that I think we're all pretty amazed about, which is customization and personalization. How, as you've built your brands, tell me about how you've rolled out custom offerings and then how you've subtracted them and added. How do you make customization meaningful for your consumers? What are the best practices? Perhaps Katie, you'd like to start.
I mean, look, for us, I will be totally honest. This has been a complete labor of love, and it hasn't been an easy journey. And it was very much a slow rollout. So, we went from this sort of, standard box that was heavily eventized. Everyone got the same thing to, really quickly realizing that even something like where someone lived can dramatically affect the kind of accessories that they want, as an example, right? Because if I'm living in Miami, like getting a giant wool scarf in my FabFitFun box is never going to be the experience that I'm looking for. But it took us like a second to get there. So, we started with things like color variations, trying to be incredibly inclusive in the beauty space, knowing that the same lipstick is also not going to look good on every single skin tone. So starting with, let's say, a dark lip and a light lip, and really expanded from there. And it's very much like a puzzle. I think we are very lucky to have an amazing consumer insights team who is constantly surveying our members about who they are, what brands they love. And that really helps inform the decisions. And we sort of create these cohorts of women as we are putting together the different choices. And we look at things like, every product before it goes into the box is a forecasted rating. Every brand has an associated Q score. And then as we put these together, on one side, just from a curation perspective, we want to intentionally include brands that our members already know and love and really establish, let's say, the value of the box. Because, if Alice and Olivia is in the box, they know that they can go into Nordstrom's and buy, XYZ for a certain price. But really then combine that with the more up and coming niche brands to continue to create that surprise and delight. And then we start to look at things like dislike overlap. So as we're sort of looking at our cohorts, making sure that each sort of group of women are going to be able to find something in each individual choice that they love. And so, that's gone from, the 8 products that we started with. Now there's anywhere between 40 to 60 options in every single box. And it was sort of slow and steady to win the race. If we had gone out with a million variations from the beginning, there would be no way that we were getting the right products to the right people. I mean, we often equate it to like a couture dress, because you're not ordering the box and getting it the next day. The reality is we're not Amazon Prime. We don't need to be Amazon Prime. We're not the everything for everyone store. We are really picking and finding the products that are going to work best for you. And that takes a hot second to put together. And because we are a subscription, at least in sort of the current offerings, we do have these sort of very highs and lows when the seasonal boxes roll out. And I think that's been, some of the challenges that we've been able to, overcome over the past, gosh, I would say now 3 years of honestly building out what this customization platform looks like.
Did you say 40 to 60 customizations per box?
There's 40 to 60 different products in every box. So there's,
okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, so people are choosing between different products. Depending upon your tier of membership, you get different choices. And then because look, we're also very lucky. We sit on a lot of information from our members. They know the more information they give us, the better the membership becomes. So if you members can choose between different products, but if you still want that sort of surprise and delight of not knowing what you're going to get, our team of data scientists will choose for you based on your customer profile.
That is incredible. Like, bless you and your ops and logistics teams for making that happen.
I'm going to give the credit to them. And yes, they are amazing.
Magicians.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's incredible. I mean, for us, customization and flexibility is something that we're continuing to work on. It's hard. It's really hard. And for us, it's currently a manual process of picking and packing into boxes. And so we started out with no flexibility whatsoever. So if you came to Sakara and you wanted to order one of our signature nutrition programs, which are all plant-based, nutritionally designed with lots of superfoods, help with gut microbiome health, flood your body with nutrients, then you had no say in what meals you received. Here is our weekly menu, and you would get it. And so for us, starting to roll out more selection to our client base, we also had to balance the nutritional component of that. So there wasn't just likes and dislikes where people don't like beets, they don't like onions, they don't like mushrooms. Those are the top 3 things that people just don't like in general. But, those are all really healthy for you. And while everybody wants to just eat the red beet burger for lunch every single day, part of our our nutrition philosophy, and one of our pillars of nutrition is nutrient diversity. So on a week of Sakara, you're getting upwards of 180 different plant species, ingredients into your meals. Also talk about like inventory management. That's a whole nother conversation we could have. But the average American is getting somewhere around 12 to 15 different ingredients into their body each week. So we're increasing that by a lot. And so if you're just eating a red beet burger for lunch every day, you're not getting that wide variety of nutrients into your body that we want to get into you each week. So it's a matter of offering customization, flexibility, but then balancing it with that nutritional component that has also been a challenge for us. But just like you, Katie, we've been rolling it out slowly and steadily, working it within one key market and testing and learning, and then rolling it out across our other markets as we grow, listening to that feedback and making changes along the way. And what we've seen is that people want choice, they want flexibility, they want customization.
100%. Whitney, one, I just wanted to say I want all the beets and onions and mushrooms. So I feel shocked by that stat. But it was interesting because you brought up flexibility, because that's been a challenge for us as well. Because one of the things that actually, it happens as you become more and more customized is that it inevitably means that there's going to be things that sell out. And on one hand, FOMO can be really great. And on the other hand, it can be a real challenge, especially to a brand that considers themselves a membership, where people feel like they deserve to have access to every option. And, while we're relatively good at forecasting, we'll never be perfect. And I do think there's something interesting about FOMO that is a dynamic that many companies really love, but it's been very much a push and pull. And I'd like you listening to that community feedback of what's working versus what's not has helped kind of guide us down the path.
Yeah. And even now with supply chain challenges, I think has just made everything more complicated for all businesses out there. So, and when you're talking about stockouts and flexibility, that's a whole nother aspect to take into account.
I'd be on the no mushrooms, no onions, although that beet burger sounds delicious. I think you guys hit it on the head. I think there's probably no category where customization is more important. I mean, every single person's body is so different. And that is what a lot of the more traditional system gives you. I go to my PCP, we have a conversation. Ideally, they're spending enough time with me and we're understanding each other enough to pick a path that matches my needs. I would say we're early as well. Where we've been focused to start is variety. So we offer a lot of options out the gate. To, like I said, 35 plus tests versus going a little bit more narrow, like some of the other really successful brands within our space. We have been experimenting with business models. So we do offer 2 memberships as well that allow you to access to different tests at different sort of price points throughout the suite. And we are experimenting with more and more information intake so that we can then customize the experience down the road. But I think, Katie, what you said that resonated a lot with me is members need to feel like the information they're giving you results in something for them, a better experience, a better offering, some kind of special value. And that's, I think, where we are. We've gotten to this point where we've gotten a lot of information. Now, how do we translate that back to people and give them back that value and make an experience that really lasts for them and changes their behaviors and puts them on a path to better health, ideally?
Yeah, I think that's another thing that I would love for you to talk about is education. All of your brands have done a really good job of educating your consumers on why not only should they pick your brand, but why it's important for them as a person and for their health. Jenifer, I'd love to bring this back to you to talk a little bit about how exactly you do your education and marketing strategy to be able to have, a $1 billion brand.
Yeah, it's so important in this space. And I think part of the challenge in healthcare is oftentimes, and this probably is the same for you, Whitney, when people come to us, they've kind of reached a point of they're not feeling well, they're unhappy, they're sick. And so you've got emotions, and you also need to balance that with what's the right choice for you? What is the right thing for you right now? And that may not necessarily be what you think it is. So this idea of like empathy and authority, and how do you present yourself as a brand that's easy to use and understand, but also credible and authentic. And in our case, in a lot of ways, clinical, because we do have physicians still part of our ecosystem. And so that is paying really close attention to the content that you have in your experience, holding your marketing to really high standards that tell the truth. Within healthcare, we actually have a lot of regulatory and compliance boundaries that we need to exist in. It means that you are giving people multiple points of contact to ask their questions. So we have webinars, we have a blog, we have in-house RNs and RDs, lots of support for people while they are on their journey, and making sure that you can just sort of really meet people where they are.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely resonates with us as well. I mean, you know, I think I mentioned we started as a media brand, and I think we're really storytellers at heart. You know, I was a writer before starting FabFitFun with my partners, and, you know, my passion is really the ability to bring these amazing brands and products and stories to life each season. And then seeing, of course, how the products can, you know, change the lives of our members. And, you know, we know there's a really strong correlation between happiness and trying new things. And while it's good to get a great happiness inducing product, you know, it's even better if you can pair it with, let's say, tutorials on how to use it and how it's actually going to improve their lives. And I would say maybe, you know, more importantly, you know, consumers have just changed. You know, they're no longer just interested in the cheapest product or a specific brand label. You know, they want the inspiration behind the brand. They want to get to know the founder. They understand ingredients and sourcing in ways that certainly we didn't talk about, you know, 10 years ago. And I think for us, you know, through our different channels, which like include videos, editorial, we have a glossy magazine that goes in every box. You know, we really think it's, you know, part of our mission to, you know, educate our members on why these are the best brands and products that they have to try each season. And I think, look, it certainly makes an impact on both overall satisfaction and retention.
Yeah. And for us, like you, Katie, we started this over a decade ago, and 10 years ago, people were not talking about wellness and obsessed with wellness like they are today. When we started Sakara, you know, we told people that we were going to be making these meals ready to eat, all plant-based, healthy, putting them in a box and delivering them to people all across the country. And people thought we were crazy. You know, they said, people don't want healthy food delivered. They want pizza delivered. And we have spent the past 10 years doing our best to educate people on why they need to take care of themselves, why they need to focus on their health and nutrition. I think that people are finally coming around to see that what you eat and what you put into your body affects every aspect of your health and your life and your body. I mean, with my journey, dermatologists were telling me acne and skin has nothing to do with what you're eating. Now, with everything we know about microbiome health, we know what you're eating has everything to do with your acne and your skin. So education has been huge. We launched a podcast, have an online magazine, our social community. We have Slack channels for our Sakara Light members. I think it really is about education, support, and community.
I know we're just about out of time here, so I would love for you guys to leave our audience today with one piece of advice that you would have them employ to build a great e-commerce enabled health and wellness brand.
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is eat your greens. And that sounds kind of a little silly, but being a founder of any kind, takes a toll on you. When you're building a business, you have to put your heart into and soul into it, especially if it's in the wellness space or you're solving a problem that is really personal to you. And so taking care of your own health, you're going to be taking care of the health of so many people, potentially millions, and you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself along the way. So eating your greens is a quick and easy way to do that. Take care of your microbiome so that you can share your gifts with others.
Yeah, I'm going to say two things. One, if you decide to work in the health and wellness space, take what you do really seriously, because you're actually impacting people's livelihood. The choices you make, the decisions you make day to day really actually have and can have both a really positive impact on people, but can go the other way as well. And then the other thing I would say is, Whitney made a great point about just product market fit. E-commerce businesses are built on conversion. And if you don't have a product that people want and it doesn't meet needs, you're not gonna have a e-commerce business for very long.
Those were both great pieces of advice. I will say, the one that comes, top of mind is not necessarily related specifically to wellness or health, but just for, I would say, any business in general, is just putting your customer first. I mean, for us, it's putting our members first. Every decision that we make goes through the funnel of, is this going to be good for our members? Is this going to make her life better? And I think, having that as your guiding light really helps to make many of those decisions much easier.
Well, thank you so much. It's been so lovely chatting with you three.